Deadline day is upon us, guys. There's a big, massive 24 hours ahead in Scottish football. There's a bunch of players ready to come into the league, but there's a bunch of players also set to depart from their Scottish clubs. Going to round up every club from A to C, even though there is no C clubs, but we'll round them up anyway. If some Seabrook United ever get promoted, make no mistake about it, we'll be doing a transfer roundup on them. But we're going to start with Aberdeen and players that they could potentially be letting go and players that could be potentially signing. So, Don's boss Stephen Glass admitted it would be nice to make another addition in the attacking areas after the signing of Vincent Besselution. That could develop with Ryan Hedges' exit to Blackburn Rovers now confirmed. Meanwhile, Leeds United were the latest side to be linked with Calvin Ramsey, with Bologna having a significant bid turned down by the club already. Glass was hopeful of retaining the player for the remainder of the season. So, interesting in terms of Aberdeen. I think Hedges leaving to go to Blackburn, I think that's a massive loss for Aberdeen. And even though his contract was up at the end of the season, they actually lost him now. Even though Blackburn did pay money for him, I don't believe it was a lot. I think it was like 100. I think it was 100 grand, if I'm being honest. I don't think Blackburn paid that much for him. So even the money they get in, it won't be that much. As for Calvin Ramsey, Bologna reportedly offered £3 million. To be honest, for a player that is pretty unproven at this stage and has had a lot of mediocre games, in my opinion, I think £3 million is a pretty decent offer. He looks good at times, he does, I'm not going to lie. Some people rate him higher than Nathan Patterson. I think Nathan Patterson did a lot more, for Rangers than he's done more than half of what we've seen for Calvin Ramsey, to be fair, in an Aberdeen shirt. He does look promising, but, he could just be having... It could be having one good season. Look at Josh Doidge for Hibs. I mean, there was rumours that he was, great. He was the next big thing. He was going to be better than Tierney, better than Robertson, and his career hasn't really, flourished since last year. So Calvin Ramsey, who knows? He could just be enjoying a good spell at the moment. Aberdeen might be stupid not to cash in while they're getting offers around the £3 million mark. So Aberdeen, like I said, looking to bring in a replacement for Hedges, but that seems to be it. I don't think they'll do much on transfer deadline day. I would be surprised if Calvin Ramsey does leave, and if Aberdeen do decide to depart with Calvin Ramsey, I wouldn't be surprised if they get him loaned back till the end of the season. I think Aberdeen might try and, get that deal factored in, but depends. Leeds, Bologna, some big clubs. I'm sure Ramsey wants the move. I mean, he'd probably rather move to Leeds or Bologna than continue to be mid-table mediocrity up in Aberdeen. But we'll see what happens, guys. As for Celtic, new additions are unlikely at Parkhead in the final hours of the transfer window. Ange has already made his signings this season. He's brought in quite a few, and I can't really see any more being made. Now, potentially there could be players leaving, fringe players that never really cut it, such as Barkas and Ajeti. The only problem, I think, with these players is Celtic are going to get nowhere near the amount of money that they paid for them, so they're going to be losing out. $5 million for Barkas, $5 million for Ajeti, $10 million in total. Honestly, if Celtic sold them both today in the last 24 hours, you would struggle if they could. I think they would struggle to get about $3 million each. I mean, $3 million for both, So I think Celtic are going to definitely take a loss here. It all depends. And apparently they could be loaning out other players such as Adam Montgomery, Sorrow, and some other fringe players that aren't really getting in the team. So I don't expect Celtic to be bringing anybody in tomorrow, but there certainly could be a few players leaving, whether it's on a permanent deal or on a loan basis, it remains to be seen. But I don't think Ange's going to bring anybody else in. And to be fair, I think they're playing well at the moment. They're set to get Furuhashi back for injury. I think they're getting pretty close to full strength once they get McGregor back. I think the Celtic team's looking pretty strong at the moment. Dundee, James McFake is keen on defensive reinforcements. They've already added Jay Chapman to the midfield and brought in Neil McGinn in attack, which I thought was a decent signing for Dundee. Definitely past his best, Neil McGinn, but there's no doubt that he was a good player and still perhaps can be a good player for Dundee as they try to avoid relegation. And they do need help in attack with Neil McGinn because they've conceded. They've scored the second fewest amount of goals in the league, only to St Johnstone, and that is a pretty poor record, to be fair. St Johnstone really struggling this season. Dundee struggling. I'm struggling with English language in this video. I mean, it could go. Dundee could be going down. Let's be real. I think they need to bring in a few signings in this window. Obviously, with Lee Griffiths' his contract being terminated in January, they probably do need to get replacement in for him. So that's it really. Not a lot else happening. Ricky Lamie has signed a pre-contract to join Dundee from Motherwell, but Motherwell seem to be intent on keeping him, so he ain't going to join up with Dundee next season, and who knows, by the time he joins up, Dundee could be in the Championship. Dundee United, not a lot really about Dundee United. Jonathan Fuchs has already left for Peterborough. To me, he was a great player. It's actually disappointing. I find it kind of sad that, leaving to go to Peterborough from Dundee United is actually considered an improvement, as considered going up in your career. To me, it's a setback. To me, it's, you're going backwards. It's a demotion big time. And come on, Dundee United are a bigger club than Peterborough. But apparently not. Apparently Peterborough are a much bigger club that can offer much bigger wages. And that is why Fuchs has left. Tam Courts has come out and spoke about his interest in signing Scotland international Kevin McDonald, who has trained with the club. I think Kevin McDonald would be a good signing for Dundee United, whether they get it over the line or not. They did bring in Tony Watt as well, which I think will definitely help them scoring goals. And so Dundee United, while they're getting Kevin McDonald, I think it'd be a good signing for them, but I'm not convinced they'll do it. I think that Kevin McDonald might be wanting quite a lot of wages, and I don't know if Dundee United would be prepared to pay him those wages. So we'll see what happens with Dundee United. Hearts, it's all about one man really, isn't it? Hearts, it's all about John Souttar. We've been talking about it now for the past couple of weeks. Will John Souttar leave in January, or will he wait till the end of the season to go to the Rangers? It doesn't look like Robbie Neilson is going to let him go. And to be fair, it looks like if Rangers want him, the price may have went up. With injuries to Halkett and Smith, can Hearts really be affording to let go of their best defender? I mean, you could argue that Hearts will probably get third regardless, so they don't really need John Souttar. But maybe Rangers need him more than Hearts do, because they've looked shaky at the back. Conceding 3 goals to Ross County is never a good sign, and who knows, maybe John Souttar coming in would definitely improve the Rangers. Well, it wouldn't make them any worse. John Souttar would not make Rangers any worse, and Rangers are trying to do 2 in a row. They are trying to get title 56, so I think if Hearts still want the asking price of the 500k, then I think Rangers would be daft not to just pay up and get him into the club. To me, it would be absolutely stupid. And if he leaves, I'm sure Robbie Neilson will look to try and bring in another defender on the last day. Robbie Neilson has also spoke about trying to bring in another attacking player, because the lack of options up front for Hearts is kind of sad, if we're being completely honest. It's, it's like when you fucking go into a restaurant or something and they're sold out everything and all you're left like yesterday's chicken. That's what looking at the Hearts attacking lineup kind of reminds me of. So yeah, boys, I'm kind of describing boys here as yesterday's leftover chicken, but who knows, maybe that's being harsh. But that's pretty much it. Hearts, I think, will be centred around John Souttar, especially from a defensive standpoint. If he leaves, then they'll probably look to bring in a defender. If he's going to stay, then they probably won't look to bring in a defender, and they will wait until the summer. Hibs, Sean Maloney has said the club will definitely be working hard to try and bring in a Martin Boyle replacement after losing 3-2 to Livingston. The problem is Martin Boyle was actually a really good player, and Hibs are going to struggle to bring in somebody that matches the quality of Martin Boyle. I do not think they're going to find it. I could be wrong, but we'll wait and see. And if they do find a replacement, then I'm sure they're probably going to have to pay for them. And, it could be pretty expensive, because Martin Boyle, probably the best player at Hibs in my opinion. Hibs' best player, and they will struggle to replace him without a shadow of a doubt. In terms of departures on Easter Road, Alex Gogic has been linked with a move to St Mirren, and of course Scott Allen, who just cannot seem to get game time at Hibs, is also attracting interest from other clubs. Honestly, I don't understand the whole Scott Allen story. I think Scott Allen's a talented player. I think Scott Allen, I think you should be definitely making room for Scott Allen in that Hibs team. I think Scott Allen's too good to be sitting on the bench, you know what I mean, freezing his ass off in the stands. For me, the guy's a good player, and I think could easily go into that Hibs 11. Livingston now have moved they're quite clear of the drop zone actually. When you look at it, I think Livingston are probably going to stay up now. Martin Dale has been talking about adding more firepower in this transfer window. He's also brought in a couple of loan players already, but who knows? I don't think that... I mean, they've already brought in a bunch of players. Will there be room for any more? Will they be able to afford to bring in any more? We don't know. Alan Forrest is a player that has been linked with other clubs. Will he be leaving? Or will Livingston manage to hold on to him? Don't know. If a big bid comes in, then maybe it'll be too tempting to turn down. But at the moment, it doesn't look like Livingston are going to do much tomorrow. I don't think they'll be bringing anybody in, and who knows? It doesn't look like they're going to be selling anybody. But if anybody does leave, it is probably most likely going to be Alan Forrest. Motherwell, the Steelmen, have been pretty active in this window. Brought in Victor Niernold, Liam Shaw, and Joseph Edford. Oh, and he arrived from the Belgian top flight, so he must be a half-decent player. Although Fashion Sakala arrived from the Belgian top flight, and he was pretty shit. Graham Alexander has already lost his top scorer, though, Tony Watt, and that will be a massive blow for Motherwell. Kind of surprised Tony Watt has decided to go from Motherwell to Dundee United. I hope the extra couple £100 was worth it, but at the moment, Motherwell certainly higher up in the table, at least, than Dundee United, and it seems like a bit of a sideway move, in my opinion, for Tony Watt. He's also keen, though, to hold on to Ricky Lamy, who has signed the pre-contract with Dundee, but I wouldn't be surprised if Ricky Lamy stays with Motherwell till the end of the season. Or who knows, maybe Ricky will want to move to Dundee now and try and help them fight relegation. It all depends on how you look at it, but for Motherwell, I don't expect them to do much in the last 24 hours. I think January transfer deadline day will be pretty quiet for them. Rangers, the Ibrox side that have already signed up John Souttar for the summer. Can they bring him in? Will they pay the money? Why not? I don't get it. 500k is a lot of money for Scottish clubs, but let's be real, when you get 16 million for Nathan Patterson, the writing should be on the wall. It should be simple maths. Surely John Souttar is more important than 500k. Surely having John Souttar as you push to win the title, as you push to win the £40 million prize fund that comes along qualifying for the Champions League. And keep in mind, they've still got European football to play this season that starts back, guys, in February. I mean, surely Rangers have to pay up this money and get John Souttar. And he's not cup tied either, so he can also play a role in the Scottish Cup. I think Rangers would be absolutely daft not to bring in John Souttar, but we'll see what happens. In terms of bringing players in, though, that aren't called Souttar, Rangers are also interested in Manchester City's highly rated teenage midfielder James McAtee. A number of clubs are chasing him for a loan deal in January, and Rangers are one of them. Do Rangers need any players in? I mean, potentially. Maybe a goalkeeper, maybe just drop Alan McGregor, because he has been looking pretty pissed as of late. Ross County done well under Malky Mackay recently. I mean, they didn't start the season too well, but they're on a lot of form at the moment. They didn't win in the first 10 league games, but they have turned it around, and they're looking really good now. They've brought in a bunch of loan players already this season with Declan Drysdale and Kane Ramsey. They've been doing a good job, and they currently have the league's top goal scorer in Regan Charles Cook. The problem for Ross County is, will they be able to hold on to Regan Charles Cook with apparently Hibernian interested in bringing him to the club? Now, that is at the end of the season when his deal expires, but surely if Ross County accepted some sort of bid, Hibs could afford to pay money up front. They kind of needed, and I mean, let's be real, if you can afford to get the league's top goal scorer in for a couple $100k, surely that would be worth it. But we'll see what happens. Will Ross County hold on to him, or will they have to sell? Does he even want to leave, though? Who knows? St Johnstone, not a lot has happened so far. They are in absolute dire needs of a win. They're rock bottom. I don't think they've won in their last 11 games without a win now. So we'll see what's happened. They've already made 6th January signings this season, this January transfer window with Halberg, Tony Gallagher, Shifty, Dan Cleary, and John Mahone. Shifty in his prime was a great player, but is he a great player at this stage of his career? Who knows? Tony Gallagher, I remember him being a wonder kid in Football Manager, but his career hasn't really, hasn't really delivered what his expectations were in that game. So I honestly, St Johnstone signings, I don't know if it's going to make a big difference. They're really struggling at the moment. Can Callum Davison turn it around? I don't know. Things were great last season when things were going well. This season things aren't going well, and things certainly aren't great. Could be a busy 24 hours for St Johnstone as they try and bring in more players to save their place in the Scottish Premiership, but I would not be surprised to see St Johnstone go down. And that's just me being honest, guys. Sorry to all the Saints fans out there, all 3 of them. Unless you're playing Galatasaray, then you turn up to pretend you're a fan. And last but not least, we've got St Mirren. Jim Goodwin has admitted that he is envy regarding transfer business and what St Mirren can do compared to league rivals. The Buddies so far have only added New Zealand striker Alex Grieve, but reports suggest they are keen to add Alex Gogic from Hibs, and perhaps they could even try and get Scott Allen on loan. The Easter Road man could be coming to St Mirren, could be coming to Paisley. Goodwin did say at the start of the transfer window he was keen to add more pace to the squad. Going the other way, there will be still focus on Jamie McGrath, whether he departs or not. Jamie McGrath, huge talking point for St Mirren. He's a great player. The guy's got quality, there's no doubt about it. But his contract's up at the end of the season. So the question is, guys, what is more important to St Mirren? Getting another 4 or 5 months out of Jamie McGrath, or trying to sell him now and getting some money in from him? In my opinion, I think St Mirren should probably sell him now. For the simple reason is, I don't think St Mirren are going to go down, and they're not going to finish top 6. You know, they're just kind of going to finish somewhere around probably 8, 9, 10. That's where they will probably end up finishing this season, and I think they're going to do that with or without Jamie McGrath. They're not going to have him next year anyway when he leaves, because he's not going to sign a new contract, so he doesn't tend to go. So they may as well start building a future without him. And in my opinion, if they can get anything for him, they can get something half decent, if they can get like 100k, 150k, 200k, they would be daft not to accept that. But who knows? They are interested in Alex Gogic. They are interested in Scott Allen. Are Hibs interested in Jamie McGrath? Maybe they could have some sort of swap deal between St Mirren and Hibernian. It all remains to be seen, guys, but that's just some of the news that's happening as we approach the last 24 hours of the January transfer window. Like I said, tomorrow there'll be Fids galore on the channel. There'll be a huge transfer deadline day roundup tomorrow at midnight, or slightly after midnight once the transfer window closes, so make sure you stay tuned for that. And yeah, let us know down below, guys. What club do you support? Is there anybody you'd like to see your club sign? Who do you think's had the best transfer window so far? Who do you think is in trouble, guys? And yeah, what do you make of the major signings? Will Calvin Ramsey leave Aberdeen tomorrow? And will Rangers pay up the money for John Souttar? This is the questions that we need answered. We'll get them answered hopefully tomorrow, and you'll find them out on this channel. But that's it for Fog Football. From myself, thanks for watching. Make sure you like, subscribe, comment down below, share this video, and I'll catch you later. Till then, though, peace.